Hi everyone, and welcome back to what are we? Media Psyche or Babylon 5 Revisited?
We haven't been Babylon 5 revisited for like 10 years. It has been Media Psyche for quite some
Oh, don't exaggerate.
time.
Don't exaggerate.
I'm not exaggerating.
Except we're only doing Babylon 5 because that's all I can muster right now.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right. Take two. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Media Psyche.
Okay.
Oh, I almost forgot what the title was again. Okay, here we are. We watched 3 episodes this week. And because since last week we had this goal of wanting to try to finish it up before the end of the year, season one. And I think it may be possible because we still have like one more weekend left before January, right?
Mm.
So we'll continue to try to keep that as our goal for now. All right, so this week we actually watched 3 episodes. We watched A Voice in the Wilderness, part 1 and 2, and Babylon Squared. And they are definitely, the feel of these episodes were definitely a lot different compared to the previous ones I was watching. Um, I feel like we're back in the meat of it, right?
Mm.
I have to say, wow.
Why I want to know why you like them so much. Like what was it about them? These all three of these episodes were written by JMS, so maybe that's what you noticed. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, the writing, the dialogue had a mix of humor. It just felt more grounded and down to earth, and also had all these elements of where it was going back to the real purpose. Well, I can't say the real purpose, but going back to the main plot of the show, which is something I'm very curious about since this whole time we've been hearing about how Sinclair has his destiny to fulfill. And you're wondering like what is this? What is this, right? And these 3 episodes really are about your calling, your destiny, the path that you're supposed to be on, the path that you're figuring on, thinking about or figuring out how to go on.
I want to note that most of the episodes that you really enjoyed are written by JMS
Mm.
himself.
It's the episodes where the writing really has an impact on how I personally feel.
That was just something I noticed that as far as you getting into the show
Hmm.
and the episodes that you have really not just gravitated towards, but really genuinely enjoyed tend to be the ones that he has written.
You know, JMS, maybe it's like mostly his shows, but I know that other shows like Born to the Purple, there were like these poignant lines, right? Especially, or this like really poignant like insight that come through. But then, every once in a while, and maybe these are the JMS writings that come up, it's it's the writing that the message that's conveyed also through that writing that like really hits home for me. So the thing, the moment that really, really stood out for me was when Dylan gets to the Grey Council. And they're basically saying, hey, we're calling you back because we want you to now lead. And they're having this whole dialogue, right? And they're like, well, you've been there for like, what, 10 years now? And like, like have you now fulfilled, completed your mission and getting to understand them and observe them? And she's like, no, not yet, right? This is where I want to be. And she's very adamant about that. And they go on to say, well, they're ruled by passions and fears. And then from that moment on, she has this monologue that is so just from her perspective of who she is, and also from the Minbari race, which I think this monologue also gives a little more insight into like maybe why Delenn is the way she is, that she had these moments where, she has all this wisdom, but at the same time can be a little bit conniving, can be a little bit of this, can be a little that, like these sort of like negative, things that kind of came up, but also it's a circumstance of her, the position that she's playing, right? But her perspective of the humans from, if we're looking at it from the Minbari race as well, influenced by also her race, was just so, how do I even describe it? Really spoke to the resilience of humans. I wrote down the whole thing. Should I read it? It's a little long.
I'll end up putting a clip in, I think.
Okay.
You wish to speak, Delenn. Now is your time.
This council stopped the war against the humans because of prophecy. Because Valen said that the humans, and some among them, had a destiny which we could not interfere with. It was my place to study them, to determine if the prophecy was correct. I have not yet finished that task.
How much more is there to learn, Delenn? They are a primitive people. I doubt the prophecy. It may have referred to others.
It did not.
How do you know? What is it that makes the humans so special? What is it that draws you to them?
They fight. They argue. They are ruled by passions and fears.
Yes, and that is their strength. They do not see conformity. They do not surrender. Out of their differences comes symmetry, their unique capacity to fight against impossible odds. Hurt them, and they only come back stronger. The passions we deplore have taken them to their place in the stars and will propel them to a great destiny. Their only weakness is that they do not recognize their own greatness. They forget that they have come to this place through 2 million years of evolution, struggle, and blood. That they are better than they think, and nobler than they know. They carry within them the capacity to walk among the stars like giants. They are the future, and we have much to learn from them.
I was thinking about for so long how I fought against that grain. You and I have had so many conversations about just basically simply walking the path towards the direction that, towards greatness, right? And I think at the time when we spoke of it in that way, greatness really felt like something that was just too big, too vast, and it was overwhelming. And I think that understanding of that greatness was just, it felt too big to someone who felt so small. But I thought about how for so many years, for like what, nearly 2 decades, this is 2 decades ago, right? Nearly 2 decades ago, where we talked about what it means to be on your path, or what it means simply just to like keep moving forward. At the time, I kind of failed to think that there was any way that I could be anything more than what I thought I was. I focused on my limitations as if they were permanent flaws. unchanging. And then you think like, where do you even learn that? And it's always the negative thoughts, especially when you've had a lot of negative experiences and not enough of those good ones that could teach you that you can move forward, right? That you hold on to those negative thoughts so tightly and you believe it with like every fiber of your being. Even though there's other kinds of like plenty of other evidence. You move through school, through level, from each level to the next, and you keep accelerating forward, you keep progressing forward. Even when you play a video game, you learn how to actually play the game. And in the end, you end up with like, the best armor, the best gear, the best weapon. And even if you like spent just a little time learning something new, you become better than what you were before. You have more knowledge than you had even when you started, which was 0, right? So I was thinking of like how it is and why it was that I spent so long fighting against the grain of that. And here the Minbari think that it's the humans have like all this strength, that they're able to like get back up and fight again. They're able to get back up and, try again. Because we have capacity. It's built in. It's part of us. And then I, work with many people, right? I work with my own clients. And they're caught in the same kinds of stuckness. Because they can't realize or recognize that with each step that they take, that they are moving towards something that's better, that's a better version of them than the day before. So here I am, right? It's also the end of the year where I often reflect on everything that I've done in the past year, as well as everything I've done or not done in my X amount of years in my life. And I guess I wish that I didn't fight against the grain so hard. I could have just sort of accepted it. That, any direction towards improvement is a direction towards greatness. I had a conversation with someone the other day. I had a brief conversation with someone who was in Korea, a stranger. In Korea, I guess, when you go on to go get a higher degree of education, it seemed to be pretty respectable. However, also from their educational standpoint, incredibly challenging. So when I let them know, what my career was and what my educational attainment required, they noted how respectable and honorable that was. It's a little different since we have more opportunities in America, right? He had asked me, how did you know how to choose your career? And how did you know that, like, this is something that you would have liked to have, that you would enjoy doing? And I told him, I kind of fell into it. I didn't know what even it was to study psychology. What did it even mean back then? And like right after college, like what does it even mean? Like what is psychology back in like what the late 1990s, right? We know so much more about it now, but I don't know. I just took one high school like AP class in psychology, and I got to college and I sucked at every other word. It was like, okay, so, but then I didn't want to choose psychology because I thought to myself, all right, good grief, I'm gonna have to like continue on with my education to actually do anything in psychology. I mean, who wants to go to grad school? I didn't. I didn't think that was in the cards for me, not by a long shot. I told him that it wasn't until I started becoming good at it, understanding it, that I then enjoy it.
Mm, mm. That's not unlike a lot of things with you because
No, it's not.
when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about how when I met you and introduced you to gaming and we first started playing Final Fantasy, that first day you got in there and you were just so not happy with the number of buttons. You didn't know how to get around the city. You were just like, where do I go? How do I pick things up off the ground? Who do I talk to? This game sucks. Why are there so many buttons? And like the rage and the frustration and I mean, it was like, I'm like, she's never gonna play this. This is gonna be impossible. And like, you just could not. I mean, the literally the first cutscene hadn't finished playing, and like the interface pops up, and you're like, Jesus Christ! Why are there so many buttons? What are all these buttons for? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? I'm like, just follow the instructions. But it took you forever to get into it, and I kept telling you, just you'll understand it. Like every
And,
quest, fetch
and that's
5 of these
exactly what that
apples,
is.
right? It took you time, and you didn't enjoy it until you got good at it.
Right. And but that's exactly what that is though, right? It's a very thing that a lot of people who struggle with low self-esteem, not feeling confident enough, or too perfectionistic, or having these unrealistic, thoughts about like how they're supposed to be. It's like you don't even want to start because you're so, you're clinging on to the thought that you're never going to be even good enough. Even good enough, right? Let alone think of like greatness. Like, how does that even apply, right? Like, where, and like, where in my vocabulary do I like connect with greatness for myself and for a lot of people as well? Where in their vocabulary would they even like think of like greatness in terms of like their own selves? But but that's the thing. It's a path towards becoming better. And that's simply it. I think a lot of people wish that they didn't struggle. I mean, who wants to, right? And then, when they're out of the struggle, they look back on it and they only hold on to the negative things in which the struggle has shaped them and kept them from moving forward, right? Because they carry with them these different kinds of core schemas of themselves. I'm inadequate. I'm not good enough. I'm I can be replaceable. I could be abandoned. I'm not worthy. So those struggles contribute to like then developing these core schemas about ourselves that we hold on to as if it's like our permanent identity, and then in which we operate around the world with. So then we operate around the world as if like we're not good enough. So then what would we do if we're not good enough? Well, we're not going to chase opportunities. We're not going to like look for the things that are best for us. We're going to think we're only going to settle for the things that are like mediocre, and then convince ourselves that that's all that we're worthy of, right? But the thing is, ironically, is that the very struggle that you have had in your life is what makes you such a rich person. If it wasn't for all my struggles, and also in addition to that, what's necessary is the examination of these struggles and what it means to you, and finding the ability to develop resilience, that's what's going to carry you forward. But it's the struggle that gives you information, wisdom. You know, without it, I wouldn't be as understanding. Without it, I wouldn't be as more diverse thinking. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thought maybe I lost you again.
I'm just letting you be dramatic.
All right, well, on that note.
I like it. It's great. It's great stuff.
I don't know. I must be channeling some inner Delenn or something. All right. Well, so the point is, you know, don't minimize yourself. Don't minimize your abilities. Any step forward you take is a step towards something. Well, we got to a point in the show where a lot of things have happened. And you're like, well, I'm like, what is going on? All this time, Commander Sinclair is just hearing like people say to him, "Oh, it's your destiny. You have a destiny to fulfill. You know, you have to be alive. You got to be here. You got to be there." You know, and that's all he's heard. And of course, he has a hole in his mind, so he has no idea, like, you know, how anything could possibly connect. But also, like, if someone said that you have a destiny to fulfill and you don't really see it happening right away, you're also left wondering, well, what does that mean, right? What does that even mean? I have a destiny to fulfill. If someone came over to me and said the same thing, I'd be wondering about that too.
Didn't I say that to you?
Oh yeah, so what's my destiny?
It's where you are right now, which
Oh,
20 million years ago you
dramatically
didn't believe
filming
a word I
B5.
said. Yes. I said you would be helping people, that everything that you've been through would be able to make you better. I said that you would be exactly where you are, and you didn't believe a word I said.
It's not that I didn't believe a word you said.
Um,
Do I want to be here? Is this it to my destiny?
Here you are. Welcome to your destiny.
Ah, my destiny. It was more along the lines of how I envisioned Saya in Blood Plus, that she was going to travel the
Just fall
world with
asleep
her
for
sword
50
with
years,
Haji by her side.
and then fall asleep for 50 years or 100 years or whatever it was.
What?
And then to fall asleep for 100 years.
20 years. Okay, maybe it might have been 30 years. I didn't want that part, okay? But yeah, I had a little bit of a different vision. Maybe a little more vast than that. Sitting in my dungeon, filming P5. But yes. So here's what I'm thinking is happening. So B4 shows up 4 years after it like vanished completely.
4 years? It's been longer than that.
What? B5 vanished without a trace 4 years ago.
Before,
I'm sorry, B4 vanished without a trace 4 years ago.
it only took them 4 years to build Babylon 5.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, that's some skill.
Right. That's what they said. So,
Was it for only 4 years? Why did I think it was longer?
I thought it might have been longer too, and I thought maybe the 4 years was some sort of like time thing as well, right? And they thought it was only 4 years, when in fact it might have been 40 years. But I don't think it was 40 years. But because Jinx was alive for all of them, right?
Yes, he worked on all of them.
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay, so JMS said B5 is B5 is smaller than B4 because they sunk most of their budget into B4.
Oh.
B1 through B4 were located roughly in the same sector, with B4 using some of the materials that were left over from 1 through 3. B5 was constructed about 3 hours from the location of where B4 was. But that's crazy that that was only 4 years. That's pretty significant.
Right. So and like, why were they so, this is my own personal question, maybe I missed it somewhere, but why were they so adamant about building B5? I mean, all the Babylon stations, even after it had all failed, because they still had this vision.
Well, it was a dream given form, right? So this is after the war, and Babylon 5 was considered to be this important, hugely important thing, because it was where all these ambassadors of all of these races were going to live together in neutral space and be
So
able to come to, it was meant to be a bridge for all of the races to be able to
wait a minute.
understand each other and learn about each other. So yeah, it was pretty important.
Wait a minute. So, but the Earth Minbari War ended 10 years ago.
Yes.
So then 6 years later, Babylon 4 was constructed. Why wasn't Sinclair commander for B4 then?
We don't know who the commander was supposed to be.
Okay.
It never got off the ground. The guy that was there just to kind of oversee the finishing of it, and then they would turn it over to somebody else. But I don't know if Sinclair was supposed to be always, the commander of
Okay,
all
I
of the
understand.
3 or whatever. But yeah.
Right, because basically as soon as like 24 hours into the station began the operations on B4, that's when the whole time thing happened.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right. So, at the end of Babylon Squared episode, you see Sinclair older with a scar on his face, and I'm pretty sure that's Delenn because that is her calling. She knew in her heart that she needed to be on Babylon 5, most likely with him, and that she needed to see him through, because that's for whatever that prophecy is. And Zathras talks about this great war that's about to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm left wondering, okay, well, what is this great war? And I know that we were introduced to, it's the Death Star, right?
The Death Star?
Oh, is that Star Trek?
That's Star Wars. What in the world?
Okay, wait. The Shadow.
Oh, you're talking about the Shadow Ship.
Right. The Shadow Ship.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that a long time
Right,
ago.
we saw that many episodes ago, right? And they made an appearance where that Psykhe had a feel.
Wait, what? You're talking about 2 different episodes. So the episode where Morden shows up, that episode where he's running around asking people what do they want, blah, 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 blah. That episode?
No. There was right before we get a glimpse of like the Shadow, there was a woman who was drinking the tea, remember?
The Centauri psychic woman.
Yes.
Who
And
saw the destruction of Babylon 5?
Yeah, I guess that's what
Yeah.
it was. So she saw that, but then like you get then the first glimpse of the shadow ship.
Ship.
Right. The shadow ship. So my theory is that the shadow ship is coming and they are planning on plotting this great war with everyone. Because Zathras says that there's going to be a great war with like great death, right? So I think something big is coming with them, and that Sinclair is a key player in this.
That they took the ship for the war, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that there is this great war, and then Sinclair is like, the key person who's going to keep from basically the whole galaxy destructing.
Destructing? I like the word
Yeah,
that you have created.
destructing.
So that is your theory. So express your theory to all the B5 fans. What do you think is the big secret? What is your theory about Sinclair? That he is the commander that's going to save everybody from the shadows?
Yeah, my theory is that like I'm guessing that the shadow is bad, right? The shadow's dark. And Commander is the light. And that they're probably the shadows are probably going to start this great war for whatever their purposes are. And I think about Kosh, right? I think about like the Vorlons, like you said that they were like the oldest race and they've been around as long as the shadows have. And he's hanging around Babylon 5 as well. And I'm wondering if,
Just chilling.
huh?
Just chilling.
Yeah, and I'm wondering like if he also knows this vision that's to come and he's just sort of watching it play out while playing his own role in it. So my guess is that he's there because he also has knowledge of the same prophecy as well as the destiny of like Sinclair. So you have
Okay.
everyone in one place and they're unified on this Babylon 5 station, and they are like some pretty important people, very powerful, important people, right? Everyone from Jakar, Londo, Delenn, and Kosh. And they're all there in one space. And I think eventually it's to be able to come, really literally come together for this great cause.
Okay. So we know that Babylon 5 is eventually destroyed, right? Because the psychic woman saw it. And we know that in the future, Babylon 4 disappears because they pulled it into the future to become a base of operations for this war, which means they didn't have Babylon 5. So at some point, Babylon 5 is destroyed. We know this from a couple of sources. We don't know how, but something definitely happened and it's
Well,
destroyed. And in the future, they need a base, so they go back in time or figure out some way of stealing Babylon 4 just as it's been completed so that it can be their base for the war that's coming. And we see Sinclair at the end, and he's old. He's got a scar, and Delenn is there.
by the way, you say you don't know how Babylon 5 is going to be destroyed, right?
Right, we don't have knowledge of that yet.
Well, in the words of Ivanova, it's always boom.
Yes. Boom today, boom tomorrow. Yes, always boom.
Right.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom. There might be 5
Yes.
booms.
Yes. And I believe the psychic, it did explode in her vision, I think. I think it did boom.
Right. So we know.
You're not wrong. I like your theory. Your theory is, I think most would agree with me and say that your theory is very close to the whole truth. It's very close.
Okay. Okay.
So that's pretty impressive considering how scattered season 1 is, and
Yeah, and how
it's a lot to
scattered
keep
in which
track
I
of.
watched it.
Yes, and the 50 million years it took you to watch it. Yes, it's pretty. You're. I think that you have nailed it as close as you could possibly nail it.
Okay.
Everything else that you don't know is not anything that you could guess. It simply has to be revealed. But I think that you have gotten the basics correct,
Okay.
which is, I'm very impressed.
Yes. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this. Some fun things about the show that I liked the past 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Londo,
Uh-huh.
when he goes to go steer the ship, right? To take him to that planet.
Oh, from Voice in the Wilderness. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Voice in the Wilderness. And
He's
Ivana was
very
like, whoever's
nice.
huh?
He's very playful in those
Yes, he's very
episodes.
playful. And, as he's like maneuvering the ship around all these like missiles and whatnot, Ivana was like, whoever is steering that is a madman. And he's over there like just really enjoying the part of himself that he once had and hasn't done for so long. Yeah. The conversation between Delenn and Droll. It was here's this problem that they're having with like Varn, was it? No, was his name Varn? The Nope, it wasn't Varn. Takarn. Takarn, here's this whole conflict with Takarn, and they're wanting that planet and every, the all that technology in there. And then like Earth Force shows up and they're like, heavy-handedly saying that we need to take this by force and show them who's boss, because that's obviously the best way, because, then that way, they could feel like maybe they might not, no one else, like they'll give up. What was he expecting? That like they'll just give up and not meet, try to meet up to their challenge with all this technology at stake? I don't understand that psychology. He's like, oh yeah, we got to show them who's boss. Force is required. If they know we're here, they'll be less inclined to start something. No, that's not how that works. Many will match you up to the challenge. So in the midst of all that, you have Delenn, Droll, and Londo having this incredibly peaceful, civil way of trying to solve this problem. And they've already come up with the solution. And I thought, like, one, how nice is that you can actually like work on conflicts so peacefully. Thinking about every dynamic out there that's really like chaotic and toxic, right? Including my own family dynamics. Like we don't have conversations like this. Meanwhile, they're like, well, I know I want to sacrifice myself because this is a calling. And Londo's like, well, I know I can get you there. And Delenn's like, well, I'm going to miss you. And that's it. I loved his speech as well, by the way. As a young and foolish Centauri, I swore that I would die on my feet doing something noble, brave, and futile. Perhaps it was not so wild a dream as I thought, or as foolish. It is better than waiting for the inevitable. What is the inevitable here that he's thinking about, talking about? I figure it's death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps it's not so wild a dream as I thought, or as foolish, to actually do something. Anything. It's one of those things too where I think back on my life and think about all those times I did hold back. And then I think about, like, why did I hold back? What was I so afraid of when the inevitable is just kind of right around the corner when you think about how short human life is? And even shorter if you're met with illness that you may not be able to avoid. It goes back to, for me, it goes back to time and all those things that so much in my younger years I didn't understand and was too afraid to even attempt. And also was too sick, right? I wonder if this will shape me in a little bit of a different way for me to tackle 2026 a little differently with my life. There's so much I want to do. So we'll see. The key is, I would die on my feet doing something, even if it was futile. Then I guess meeting my death like not having done anything at all, or not even attempting what I wanted to. Yeah.
Londo is interesting. Well, the Centauri are interesting, and given that they were once the supreme power, it was the Centauri and the Minbari, but the Centauri were huge. They conquered everybody and everything, right? And now they're like a joke. They have no power. They have no honor anymore. Like, they're now just kind of a joke. Londo, it's hard to believe that Londo represents a race of people that once conquered half of the universe, right? It seems kind of hard to believe that they were once in power in such a way. And Londo, we've seen him sort of mourn that in many ways, that they used to be significant and now they're like a joke.
Yeah, mourn it as well as sort of play the part of clown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So him having that moment where he can talk about regaining some of that honor and doing something significant, it's very powerful, I found, with him. We see two sides of him, like him making fun of the Hokey Pokey song and being silly, him comforting Garibaldi, right? But we also see that different side of him. Not so much at first you think, oh, he's like, oh, you're going to hold out on me. Like, he wants what's down there almost like in a selfish way, like anything to help bring the Centauri more power. Similar to the Narns, like whatever's down there, we want a piece of it. But he's not saying that. Like, when he finally confronts them and he wants to help, it's not that he wants to take it. So we see these different sides of Londo, which is really interesting. His character becomes more dimensional.
Yeah. I mean, for him to be able to maneuver that spaceship, right? What do you call it? Spacecraft? it it certainly is a show of like how powerful he was. At least a glimpse of it. For him to have that ability even after so many years. So it is definitely testament to the amount of, well, the amount of power he had, the ability, the confidence. Yeah. It is nice to see these moments of him, but as well as like these moments where he talks about himself so honestly and deeply, because you get to see like the inner version of him that you only, just get glimpses of here and there, because the rest of the time he's drinking or acting foolishly. But underneath all that is a warrior.
Yeah, you're gonna love Londo. I mean, his character arc, in my opinion, is probably the best in the whole series.
Okay.
You'll definitely like that. I was reading some notes from JMS. This was back in '94, after the original air date, when he's talking on the forums and answering questions, and he said, Londo and Garibaldi really are two sides of the same coin in some ways. There's an odd friendship there. But he also says, I love monologues. They're a legitimate part of my drama. The MTV generation has had its taste so thoroughly bastardized by quick cuts, lowering the attention span further and further, that any bite of more than 10 seconds and they start to wander, it becomes a block of words that they blur out. This is in '94.
Even then, huh? Before the rise of all this social media.
Yep. He says, go rent Network by Patty Chafsky. Rent nearly any of the Twilight Zones by Rod Serling. Go see The Ladies Not for Burning by Christopher Fry. All chock-a-block with moments where you park for a moment and let fly with a chunk of dialogue that smashes your head against the wall. Not every exchange has to be foreshortened so that you lose the impact of what is being said, because people's attention spans have been greatly foreshortened. Suddenly, more than 3 lines at a time is somehow viewed as wrong. It ain't. Just that lots of folks are afraid to try it, afraid to rely on the words and the actors. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it's legitimate. That monologue in particular, done right, isn't just to convey information. It's to create a mood, to paint pictures with words, to expand on the obvious. Yeah, I could have just written, the Narns hate us, we hate them, it's equal math. But that doesn't carry the same meaning or the same sense as, so here we are, victims of mathematics. The use of the word victim connotes, hey, it's not my fault. Yeah, the former is shorter, but you lose the rhythms and the imagery and the sense of what is intended. You could say the Narn hate us, but to say if the Narns gathered together in one place, all hated all at the same time, that hatred would fly across dozens of light years and reduce Centauri Prime to a ball of ash, well, that draws a picture, and that lends the power to the emotion. Point being, I like monologues. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're staying.
I love them. I love these monologues. It gives you time to reflect. It gives you time to like stay in the mood. And actually try to, it helps bring you a little closer to the character too. Helps you understand where they're coming from and what they're really thinking and feeling.
I love that monologue of him about the hatred. That was, we know that the Narns don't like them, right? But it really speaks to this, right, the slavery of the Narns and how they want to destroy them at this point. The tables have really turned, and someone on Threads, I think it was recently, was talking about Babylon 5 and saying like that people still need to watch the show even in 2025, that the writing holds up. And they were talking about the Narn and the Centauri. And he said the Centauri are very much like white supremacists that are afraid of what would happen if the people that they oppressed, gained more power,
Interesting.
right? And I thought of that, that when he says how much the Narn hate them, he's not wrong, and that they now have the power to actually destroy them and want to. And he was saying, he's like, I think that's how a lot of white people feel about any minorities, or especially black people, that hatred is so deep, and what would happen if they suddenly had enough power to enact what that hatred was. And I think that JMS, was writing from that point too, when he was writing about the Narn, and what the Narn became as a people and how much they hate the Centauri. And I think Londo sums that up very nicely in that monologue. But he also says it with a sense of almost inevitability. Like, he doesn't say it with any fear. It's just like, this is the truth.
Yeah,
and
it's
this
very
is what
matter
it
of
is.
factly, right?
I think he said it in an early episode that he had a dream that Jakar was going to kill him. Remember
Yeah.
that was a prophecy in his dreams,
Yeah.
that Jakar is going to kill him.
Yeah,
or
right.
strangle
I
him or
remember that.
something. Yeah. So
Delenn,
it's like he just accepts it.
yeah, and like right before that, Delenn, says that there is a difference between being unreasonable and being angry. And she says, even the greatest anger fades with time. No, it doesn't. I don't think such things, I don't think that there's some things that fade with time. I don't think time heals, time alone heals, or time alone can change the fate of some things or decrease the intensity of.
Yeah, certainly not genocide or slavery.
No. And certainly not some sort of wrongdoing in which you were a victim. That stays for a long time. Even the greatest anger fades with time. No. If time alone healed, there would be no reason for, medications and psychotherapy and seeking counsel and higher beliefs. Or even like the inevitable that comes a little sooner for some people. I think watching these 3 episodes for me has been really, it set the tone for where I was already at. Again, this time of the year is a little rough for me because it's when I do a lot of my own self-evaluation. And figuring out what I want to do going forward into the next year. So I guess in some ways, not that I didn't have direction, but it gave me a little bit more to think about, a bit more deeply for myself. So I'm really glad that you made the suggestion of coming back to this before the end of the year, or as we're approaching the end of the year, so I could set my own goals for myself. Purpose, time, meaningfulness, destiny, fate, all of that. and what it is that maybe I perhaps may want to die for, even if it may seem futile. Okay. Well, let's do it. Let's keep watching. Let's keep filming. Let's see where this whole thing takes me, since, you've already cheated.
What do you mean?
Oh, well, you watched it like 30 years ago when it was out, so.
I, I, I told you I stopped watching it after the second to last episode of season 2 because
Oh.
I was not ready.
Wait, wait,
I
wait.
was
So you
not
actually
able.
didn't finish all of B5?
When it first aired, I couldn't. It really,
Right.
that episode of season 2 hit me in the face, and people watching this probably know what it is.
What a sad thing you are. Unable to answer even such a simple question without falling back on references and genealogies and what other people call you. You are a piece of the machine that thinks it is the whole of the machine. You have malfunctioned. Your only destiny is to be the nail that gets hammered down.
But like I
Right.
realized at that point I could not continue it because I just was not in the right place to be able to appreciate it. So I watched it later.
Right. So you did watch it later. You did finish all of B5 though, right?
I did. I
Okay.
did
Yeah.
finish it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Good job, Jenny Song. Good job.
Thanks everyone for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.